What's up, y'all? Welcome to the FreeChinaPod. It's been a little bit, but actually it hasn't because I just posted a podcast with Seth that everyone should go listen to about the carpenter strike in Washington. So it's a lot of interesting stuff that even I who kind of follow that wasn't aware of. So this is interesting. What's up with you, Ari Bibble?
What's up?
Yeah. So what's new? We haven't freaking potted for like 2 weeks.
I mean, yeah, in like terms of big stuff, that's like it's been more than 2 weeks. It's been about 3 weeks.
We did the pod for the English the leaders debates in English for the Canadian elections, which just happened today, basically.
Yeah, I was surprised how decent some of the French was. I guess not Pierre. What's his name? Justin Trudeau grew up in Montreal, which I forgot about.
Yeah, I mean they all learn French in school and stuff, right?
I mean, I can tell you from everyone that I know in English-speaking Canada, not one of them speaks fluent French. It's like the same way as we learn Spanish in high school. Like, you learn it, but you forget everything, and like it's not very intensive. And or Taiwanese students learn English. Like the functional fluency by the time you reach adulthood is virtually zero for most people.
I assume most of these people, I mean, definitely Trudeau, but I don't know all their backgrounds, but I assume most of them come from moderately affluent backgrounds. So
I think the Green Party kept saying that she grew up in a very poor family, but I think the bigger thing is they go through training if they think that they're going to try and lead the party.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely just hire a tutor so they become functionally fluent. It's not to dismiss French at all. It's not one of the most difficult languages to learn as a native English speaker. It requires about according to the Foreign Defense Language Institute, about 600 hours of training to become functionally proficient, which is like quarter of a year in terms of full-time learning.
Yeah, we didn't watch the full French debate. Like you said, most of them sounded pretty good, but
we're just listening to their accent, not because neither of us
speak
fluent French.
I don't almost know how to say anything in French, but yeah, because I mean, when during the English day, the Bloc Québécois candidate didn't know how to say social policies or something.
Housing.
Social, yeah. So there's I'm sure there's a few moments like that, but whatever. Big main thing, just like I tell all my students, if you can communicate, that's what's important. But as a national leader, it probably looks a lot better if you can speak it without having to
You're also trying to make your arguments, though. And it's difficult to be eloquent and articulate and articulate a point in general if you can barely speak a language fluently.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true.
By the way, I never said, but cool glasses.
Thanks, bud. I've been switching.
Just kidding. Jordan doesn't wear glasses. You'll never identify him.
I have perfect vision, folks. I've been switching them often recently.
I like these ones though. Stylish.
My little Harry Potter glasses.
They're not Harry Potter at all.
They're round though.
They're very academician to me.
Just sitting here in my ivory tower, folks.
And by the way, we're not talking about real glasses. We're talking about his cartoon character glasses.
Yeah. It's my
neither of us wear glasses.
My caricature. Yeah. There's no way that anyone will ever be able to recognize us. We don't have any distinguishing features except for that we're both dashingly handsome.
Yeah, we're both approximately 7 feet tall, just about the same as the average population. There's no way to pick us out of a crowd. Let's just say that. We both got very dark black skin.
Yeah.
No beards.
Never.
Clean shaven from head to toe.
Yeah, we're
waxed.
We basically
lasered.
Look like we just get our whole bodies Brazilian waxed, baby.
No eyebrows.
Smooth like babies. Yeah, like we have alopecia or some shit.
Well, that's the look we're going for because we want our shiny black skin to sheen off
bling.
The reflection of the sun.
Bling bling.
It's deliberate.
Yeah, we do it on purpose, folks.
Hell yeah.
Well, it looks like Trudeau didn't. I don't know. I didn't see the exact party breakdown yet, but I don't think it was a great idea for him to call this election.
I mean, he didn't lose his hold on power, but I don't think he's going to hold a majority.
No, I don't think he's getting a majority.
He didn't have a majority before either, so it's just kind of like a wash.
I think it made him look bad. And did you see that there was a new picture
He's
of
already
him?
looked bad, bud.
Yeah, that's true. Well, speaking of looking bad and Justin Trudeau, did you see there was another picture of him in blackface that just came out?
I wish you would stop trying to imitate our faces.
Appropriating our skin. Bastard. Yeah, so whatever.
Like from the same party or like in the 1980s?
No,
or
because
just
this looked like actual, like, it was like, because before it was like brown face. It looked like he was in like a Middle Eastern like sultan costume, but his skin was very black. And I don't know if it could be manipulation like by the people posting it, but it was a bad look. And I guess someone asked him, and they were like, are there going to be more of these, basically? And he like kind of dodged the question. So we might get to see more, folks.
I think it's like silly. I mean, it's kind of like silly politics because he's not going to admit that if anything was real, and like there's no way to verify that any of them are. The original ones, I think, are. I think he admitted to those, but like these new ones,
I'm pretty sure they are. It looked pretty real, but
I mean, they could just find a picture of him like wearing a Halloween costume and just be like, oh, this is perfect, and then just modify the colors on that.
That's true, but I mean, if it was fake, I think he would probably deny it, and it doesn't seem like he's been denying anything. So
I think, considering there's an election right now and there's like serious substantive issues in Canada, I'm sure from his perspective, he's like, why would I bother to like answer these stupid questions about this stupid issue, which is like what Halloween costumes he put on in the 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, blackface is bad. It's bad, but actual policy is more important, I would say.
Well, I disagree with using it offensively, but I don't think people of a certain race imitating another race is necessarily bad. I think that deliberately coloring your skin in a weird way is like very crude and passé. But
there's also, I mean, brown face is slightly different, but blackface, there's like historical precedent for
I know that.
deep racism with
I know that.
So,
I know that.
yeah.
But that's not to say that people doing that in the 1980s were doing it as like a throwback to a 1930s minstrel show.
Not necessarily, but again, as a opulent son of one of the highest ranking politicians in Canada at the time, you should know better. Let's say that.
At the same time, in his defense, and again, I think that it's crude, and I don't think it's tasteful at all. And
Ari loves defending blackface.
There were major blackface movies that came out in that period.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make it right. But I get your point that it was like more socially acceptable.
It wasn't like people weren't like calling it throwback to minstrel show era stuff that wasn't part of like the social. Maybe some people were saying that, but I don't think that was the mainstream social norm at the time, or like Soul Man wouldn't have been as commercially successful.
Right. I think, but again, it shows the lack of from even now. A lot of black people are quite offended by it, and I think even at the time they probably were, which shows that he's pretty out of touch with like his black constituencies.
But on the other hand, I think that seeing is like Key and Peele, seeing their Mexican face that they've been doing, or when they do white face, which they basically just powder their faces, like. I don't think correlating
saying that those two are the same is right at all. But I think part of that is a social commentary on the use of blackface. That would be my thing. But I
don't think that's what they're doing when they imitate Hispanics, when they're doing like the Los Angeles Mexican skits and stuff like that. I don't find that it's very crude, but it's not. I don't think that they're I don't think that they're necessarily being racist. I think it depends on the context.
It definitely depends on the context, which is exactly what I was going to say, which is like now there's people who like really want to get outraged online, and they've been sharing pictures of Robert Downey Jr. in blackface from the movie Tropic Thunder.
Yeah.
But the point of that is that it's like it was bad, and like it was a commentary on like white people doing blackface. So it's obviously missing the entire point. So I agree, context definitely matters. But I think the context for Trudeau is he just wanted to dress up in like a weird racial stereotype, which is, I think, stupid and gross. But yeah, again, it's not like
the fact that
that's not my main issue.
And asking him to respond to that at a press conference, like the Halloween costumes that he wore in the 80s, when he's already gone through this scandal, is frankly a waste of fucking time.
I don't know how much people are. I mean, people are just sharing it online and making jokes about it.
But somebody asked him.
Yeah, they asked him about it, but I don't know how many questions he's getting about it. I mean, you, as like a media figure, I think you kind of got to ask him at least once about that. But yeah, if they like go on like 6-month tirade of like asking him over and over again. It's like he made a statement. If you think that that's like a game, that's like a game ender for you, then that's fine. I think that's a decision that
it
each
clearly
person has
hasn't
to
been
make.
since he's won 2 elections since that original scandal.
I mean,
so.
well, there's not a ton of other good options in Canada. I mean, there
are
a
lot of other better options.
There are better options. I just don't know how many people are willing to vote for them. Like, I mean, obviously, we said it on our stream. Like, both of us would vote for NDP before we vote for Labour. So,
you mean Liberals?
Liberals, yeah. Anyway,
I thought it was interesting looking at the map. Let me see if I can pull up the map here.
Okay.
Jamie, can you pull up the map real fast? The electoral map.
Young Jamie.
Jamie, what the fuck are you doing?
You're so slow, Jamie.
This is why millennials are not getting ahead, Jamie. You gotta be on your toes. You gotta stay accountable.
Lazy millennials.
What I thought was interesting is that the conservatives basically have now like metropolitan ultra rich areas and the oil country, and that's basically it. That's all they dominate in. And the bloc obviously only has rural Quebec, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So Toronto is actually quite liberal, and then the second you go outside of Toronto and Hamilton, it's like all conservative.
Yeah,
so like, but only like Toronto vicinity. So then you start going up to like Thunder Bay, and it starts moving liberal and NDP. In fact,
yeah.
You cross over to there's no cities here. My Canadian geography is not fantastic, but I believe this is Ottawa. No, this is Montreal. Montreal again is mostly liberal instead of bloc Québécois.
Yeah.
So Quebec basically in the entire countryside is all bloc. Oh, they have some conservative areas too, which is weird. I guess the ones that touch America, no less.
Well, Bloc Québécois they got like third place in a lot of those areas. Like here, they got NDP came in second.
Yeah, the NDP are the guy. I mean, I liked them, but the guy could have been slightly more charismatic.
A little bit. I think his style is okay. It's
very okay. Better than Trudeau.
It could be. I think it could be. Well, yeah. I think it could be a little bit more aggressive, but also the debate we watched. The moderator did a horrible job of like managing time and making sure that like everyone got to speak. There's one clip I was watching because I rewatched that debate, our coverage of it the other day, and there's like one part where she asks Singh a question. Trudeau cuts him off, and then what's his name? Aaron, what's his name?
Aaron O'Toole.
Then O'Toole cuts him off. And then he tries to answer again, and she cuts him off to let Trudeau talk again. It's like, well, why did you ask him the fucking question then?
I'm not gonna say anything. It's dangerous.
Hashtag lame stream media.
Oh wow, this is interesting. So in terms of Vancouver, most of BC geographically went conservative, like the countryside. Vancouver, like core area is split NDP and liberal. But what's interesting is Vancouver Island, at least like South Vancouver Island near North Victoria went Green Party. It's like the only riding in the country, it looks like, that went green. With Elizabeth May. Okay. Elizabeth May ran for prime minister in like the last election, I think, for the Green Party. She's the old leader, so that must be like her
old stomping grounds.
Yeah, her stomping grounds. But anyway, it's interesting like how there are large swaths of the country that are really geographically split.
Yeah.
It's not like America where it's like you got obviously coastal areas which lean Democratic and kind of like the heartland and now Rust Belt which lean Republican and the South which leans Republican. But there's a lot of kind of mixed areas. With Canada, there's like really, really strict set out blocks. Like you can see basically everything east of basically coastal BC is completely conservative all the way up to like western Manitoba. And then it starts going liberal at NDP, and then urban areas are split between basically urban, except for Toronto. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see it.
Toronto, you have an urban-rural divide in America too. And we saw that in the Georgia races. Basically, all of the big cities went for the Democrats, and that's why they flipped Georgia this time.
And in Canada, you can see that to some extent, but only in certain areas, like Southern Ontario and the oil provinces.
Right.
But like everywhere else, It's not necessarily the case.
There are also more choices. I wonder what it would be like if America had this many parties that were like viable parties.
Yeah.
Americans have been conditioned, even though we do have third parties, they've basically been conditioned that like that's a waste of your vote.
Well, and also the notion of there being like a wasted vote, like first of all, in Canada, you're not voting for the party.
Right,
you're not
exactly.
voting for the prime minister.
Yeah.
You're voting for you only get one vote for your local MP.
Yeah.
And that's it. So like you can't like waste your vote. And by the way, in America, we also have it so polarized that the idea that you would quote unquote like for instance in the last election that you would waste your vote and cause basically the opposition to win is like a death stroke. The idea that the country is going to implode if the opposition wins.
That's right.
Like in Canada, like realistically, the difference between an Aaron O'Toole government and like a Justin Trudeau government, there are differences certainly, but they're not. Nobody's arguing that the country is going to, stop existing, cease to exist if the opposition wins. So it's not so existential.
It's all, some of it is hysterics, but also some of it is real. Like if the Republicans get in power, they're obviously going to like try to kill healthcare. And like in Canada, we were remarking like during the debate about like how it was like, wow, even the conservatives, like I'm not going to touch the national healthcare system essentially. Yeah. Like he was talking about adding more privatization to certain parts, but like not like obviously not getting rid of it because it's once people get it, they're like,
so it's just less existential.
Like yeah, exactly.
But I think the parties here were not. I mean, they're all kind of marginalist, gradualist parties is the word I'm looking for. They don't want to do anything radical.
Yeah.
Well, check this out though. This is interesting. So the Liberals have a healthy majority of seats, 158 to the Conservatives 119 here. Look at the percentages though.
Yeah. So did you see the number of votes? Because the NDP, when I was looking at it, the percentage that they were getting was way off.
The NDP got more than half of the votes that the Liberals got, and got less than 1/6 of the number of seats.
Exactly.
Because it's first past the post parliamentary systems. Yeah. So it's not surprising. Because a lot of third parties, like in the UK, I mean, they very seldom get any seats at all. So it's interesting that in Canada they managed to, and even the Green Party got 2 seats. People's Party got 5% of the vote. By the way, People's Party got 5% of the vote and got 0 seats.
Yeah, Green Party got
2% and 2 seats. Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
The Bloc got 7%, but because it's very geographically centered on Quebec, they got 34 seats, more than the NDP did, with more than double the vote proportion, because they had that geographic concentration.
Well, like when you're looking at these two, there's a lot of times that NDP comes in second, and it's like you said, it's first past post. So once you win, those votes are,
exactly.
You might have a high vote total, but you're not gonna have that many seats.
Quebec City went Liberal, so it looks like urban areas, even Quebec, tend to lean Liberal.
Yeah, but even you look at Bloc Québécois came 3,000 votes short. Or so?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize what a small riding is.
Pretty close.
That's weird. I think also in Canada, by the way, the last time I lived there, I was like, I went to the government offices. I'm like, I want to register to vote. By the way, for Americans, they don't get this. They're like, you can't register to vote. Like, you sign up for your health care card and you pay taxes here, and we'll just send you your information to your address. It's like, well, what if you don't? Like, what do you mean? I'm not saying that the Canadian government is like, I mean, they're usually quite efficient and they do things okay, but the idea that there's like no set of recourses where you like can register to vote if you're very interested in that, and it's basically at the government's whim whether or not, because it essentially is. If you look at the numbers here, like that Quebec City had 25,000 total. This is not Quebec City, by the way, but anyway, that they had like, well, look at this whole riding here, 47,000 voters. I mean, it's quite tiny.
Yeah, they had 70,000 voters, but the turnout was 40 something.
Let me find Quebec. So there are 2 ridings in Quebec here with, I don't know how big Quebec City is, but 150,000 total voters. That seems low.
Yeah, and that's not even the total turnout either.
The idea just being that maybe they're not, the population is like 500K, and yet there's 150,000 registered voters in the 2 ridings here, unless there are more ridings. Anyway, just the idea that maybe some people are not being given the right to vote. I'm sure there's a lot of children, but not like 4/5 of the population.
There might also be. It also might be some immigrants. Probably not as many in Quebec, but
Quebec City probably close to 0. Montreal has a lot, but
yeah.
Montreal went mostly liberal. Anyway, interesting. Dorval. Oh, this is my dad's old district. And look at who won. A foreigner.
It also throws me off that
Hey, Dorval, no. Dorval's not. Sorry, go ahead, bud.
it also throws me off that like the liberals in Canada use red and the conservatives use blue, which is like the exact opposite of America.
Yeah, but every country is different.
Of course, but it's just like when I first looked at the map, I was like, wow, conservatives won a lot. Just like with my brain automatically thinking that like red represents conservative.
I mean, they won a big swath of the country.
They did, but
Dorval
they didn't win a majority.
By the way, I don't think they have a writing for it. But anyways, yeah, they won. It's just like the Republican Party. They won kind of the rural areas, the oil areas, and like the old prairie core.
Yeah.
Look at this single riding. The fact
with
that
about as many voters as like one of those partitions of Quebec.
This place is probably bigger than Texas. Like probably maybe about the same, slightly larger than Texas.
Yeah.
And they have 50,000 voters because this is northern Manitoba. This is like northern Canada.
Too cold.
Churchill. I thought Churchill was Ontario. Interesting. I got to spend more time in Canada. I got to go back.
Oh, you got to go back there, eh?
Look at Nunavut. One riding with 18,000 voters.
Yes, only 36% turnout.
Yeah. Well, the snow and cold. I mean, look at the size of this. I mean, speaking of like territory, Alaska's our biggest state. This is like 8 times the size of Alaska. I mean, exaggerating.
Yeah.
Probably 6 times. And they had a total of like 7,000 people go out and vote.
Well, it's the same as Alaska. I mean, Alaska is our biggest territory, and there's like no one that votes there.
It's true.
It's so sparsely populated.
Let me see Northwest Territories. I have been to the Northwest Territories. The Northwest Territories, 13,000 people voted in something territorially probably about the same size as Alaska. Yukon, 17K. Interesting. Very interesting, man.
Sure be, boy.
Germany's elections are going on right now. It looks like the SDP, the Social Democratic Party, is probably going to win.
Think so?
That's what it looks like so far.
I haven't looked. I haven't even looked at the polls yet.
I think it hasn't closed yet. We'll go through the debate before we before we make any declarations for the Bundestag and the Chancellor. It's nothing yet, I guess. No substantive details yet.
Don't click on those 2 first links. That trash website.
Anyway, anything else on this subject you want to talk about?
No, I mean, it kind of turned out pretty much how I figured it would. I figured they wouldn't win a majority. I figured the Liberals I'm speaking about. I figured they'd still probably win the most seats. But yeah, nothing too surprising.
What I want to say is that prior to the debates, I think the Conservatives were marginally ahead, and they did come out ahead in like terms of overall percentage of the vote of the Liberals. But after their showing in the debates, their percentage dropped considerably.
Yeah, I wonder how he showed in the French debates, but the English, yeah, I actually was expecting him to look worse. I don't know why. That was just the feeling I had going in. I didn't think he looked that bad, but he didn't look good. He wasn't more impressive than Trudeau, and Trudeau was not impressive.
But I think the main reason for all of this is that people are not most Canadians are not particularly interested in the conservative ideals. If you look at the left-leaning parties in Canada, if you consider the Bloc as a member, then it's like 70% of the vote. And if you take the Bloc out, then it's like 60% of the vote.
Yeah.
Nobody's really interested in like reducing climate change regulations or like increasing money for the oil provinces. Yeah. They're just disgusted with Trudeau. And I think what the debate did is showed people that they were not turned on at all by the ideas presented by the Conservatives. Yeah. So it just reminded people why they may have been upset with the Liberals. They weren't going to go and vote for the Conservatives.
No. Yeah. Wow. I didn't see that Bloc Québécois got 7.75% of the vote and got more seats than the NDP that has over 10 points. Okay.
I mentioned that because of all the geographical concentration. NDP gets like 20, 30 in like a lot of places, especially like downtown Toronto. But as long as the Liberals have more, then they end up winning.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just saying it's like when you just look at the raw numbers, it's like looks surprising.
Let's take a look at the Toronto. Toronto's a little bit liberal.
But I mean, you can also think about the fact that like of what like the last 5 or 6 elections in the United States, like the person with it was like almost half the time that the person with less popular vote won the election.
It's true, but I mean, it's a marginal difference here. By the way, this is my old area.
Votes.
When I was a baby,
Little baby.
went liberal. So the NDP got marginal. Like what would that be? Out of 40,000 votes, like 7-8%.
Yeah, pretty low percentage.
That's where I lived last time. Markham. This is where my relatives live now. Don't look them up. Markham.
Let's
Thornhill.
dox Amari.
Actually, they moved. They don't live there anymore. So it's Scarborough. I want to see my old neighborhood where I used to. Yeah, so NDP consistently gets like maybe 8%. Vaughan is where my grandparents used to live. Kind of miss Toronto.
Once everyone gets their COVID nonsense under control, maybe we can go visit like we planned to like 2 years ago.
Oh, heck yeah, bud.
Oh, yeah, bud. We're going to have a good time. Gonna eat some poutine.
Look at the downtown, by the way. Look at that split. Like, Liberals and NDP were like
Super
neck
close.
and neck. Yeah, within 1,000 votes.
Yeah.
1,500 votes of
Yeah.
each other. That's a big riding, but I guess there's not.
Pretty close.
Chrystia Freeland. Oh, Minister of Finance. I didn't know she represented that district. Alejandra Bravo. Now we're just naming names.
Yeah, as if anyone knows any of these people. Even people in Canada, I bet, don't know half these people.
York Center. But yeah, this is where I used to. As an adult.
Nice. Speaking of COVID, do you see cases today?
Know how many? 0?
Big fat 0, bud. Big fat 0. 0 deaths, too.
I was talking to my boss about this, and she's like, yeah, of course, next week.
Yep. We'll see. We'll see. I hope not, but...
I hope not too, bud.
But it doesn't look great. There was a lot of people traveling here in Taiwan during the Moon Festival holiday. Today is technically the holiday.
Yes.
Today's the day. So happy Moon Festival, everyone.
Happy Sukkot as well. It corresponds because they're both on the lunar calendar. That all of the holidays are directly corresponding because it's the core of the lunar month right now. Tonight should be a nice big full moon.
Yeah, I'm gonna if it's not cloudy like it is right now, I'm gonna try to go take some pictures. I might bust out the telephoto lens for the Zenit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bud. Because I've taken pictures with the DSLR before, and it's beautiful, but film's something else, man.
Film's special.
It hits different, as they say.
Never heard that phrase before.
You're not terminally online like me.
I'm just kidding. I've definitely heard that.
We gotta talk about this iPhone.
What about it? I was just gonna mention that they released it and that it's kind of dumb, but
it looks almost exactly the same. The specs are quite similar.
I'm upset that it's still produced in China like 100%. They've been trying to transition to India to move away from slave labor for a long time, but
yeah.
I think Terry Go's got so far up. Tim Cook's.
Yep.
You can censor that out, please, so that it doesn't sound Apple-phobic.
Well, the thing that I'm more worried about is that they're planning, it's not really with the iPhone 13, it's just a similar time. They're talking about doing client-side scans on people's phones.
Oh, yeah, that's disgusting.
That's a gross, and they're, of course, always be wary of people when they say that like they're doing some sort of policy for children. That's what they said it's for. They said they said it's to protect the children so we don't have so much child pornography.
Okay, by the way, if nobody, and let's be clear, no child predator is storing their child pornography on an iPhone.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just be real about this right now. Nobody, by the way, is also putting them in any not hot cap network. I would assume if they have a single brain cell in their brain.
No, that sounds silly. It's ridiculous. Single brain cell in their brain.
A single brain cell in their skull.
Yeah, if their brain isn't as smooth as a bowling ball, they're probably hiding it somewhere off the fucking grid. They're gonna on a solid state or something. They're
gonna have digital cameras and everything's gonna be air gapped unless they're just I don't know. It's just frustrating.
Yeah. Point being that it's a fake excuse.
They just want
to mine people's data and probably because everyone wants to talk about.
I think
Apple is so safe. It's so encrypted. It's so well done. That's why I use the iPhone.
That's what I think. I think they're trying to. I don't think that they're probably not doing this to. I'm not super eloquent because I just ate for the first time today.
It's okay. I'm really tired.
I don't think that they're doing it exclusively to mine people's data and get revenue. I think that the main thing is to cover up the fact that they're building in a backdoor for governments like the Chinese government, because it's going to be discovered. I mean, they already have. Everyone knows it, but like the more this gets released and the more people are aware that they're building in backdoors for evil governments, the less people want to buy it. And they're like, no, this is not for evil governments. This is for law enforcement. This is for whatever.
Yeah. Well, and it also gets rid of any sort of privacy that you would have for like encrypted apps. So you're using encrypted stuff. It doesn't matter. So whistleblowers, sorry, you can't use Apple anymore. If you
were using Apple before, you're dumb.
Think about like people who are like potentially at risk of like becoming political prisoners. Like all the people
you should be using an Apple.
Yeah, you should.
You should be using a heavily encrypted drop. First of all, the biggest reason to not use Apple is because there's no fingerprint scanner on there, which by the way themselves are dangerous, and they encourage you to use the facial unlock, which essentially is like the weakest form of encryption, because unlike a fingerprint where they would need to like make a mold, it makes it so easy. They just have a digital representation of your face.
Yeah.
Even if there are like some kind of 3D protections on there, it's very easy to get past. And that way, law enforcement does not need your password to break into your phone.
All they need to do is if they have you in custody,
exactly,
and they have your phone, they can just turn it in front of your face.
But even if they didn't have you there, they could if they have your picture, they can use a fake representation, which they cannot do, by the way, with a fingerprint. Yeah. And fingerprints are not as safe, of course, as having a password. So it's dumb. It's dumb. It's dumb. Stop using it.
Really dumb. Really dumb.
Unless you just don't care about data privacy or privacy in general or slave labor or...
Only if you care about the children.
Save the children.
I saw a story about California banning meat. Not meat.
Hell yeah,
Not
brother.
all meat, unfortunately.
It's about time.
They're banning...
After that governor's recall race.
Man, yeah. We didn't talk about that, but I mean, it went pretty much as everyone expected. There was polling initially that showed like Larry Elder might be doing well, but after who is realistically going to vote for Elder? And even if he would have got elected, there's some people were saying that it probably would have gotten probably, but also contested constitutionally, because he could have basically won with like 15% of the vote because there were so many people in the race.
Right, but the thing is that this has happened before, so I mean, I don't remember if anyone contested it before, but the fact that it's existing precedent means it's probably difficult for them to...
Depends if it's been tried in court before, but yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. But obviously, he didn't get recalled. And I think to thank the voters, he should immediately pass ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting.
Do it.
That was a big spit in the face to voters he did before. He should also tell everyone at the airport staff that... And by the way, he should also tell the California State Patrol to patrol the borders and make sure that gentlewoman never comes back.
Yeah, stay out. You can't come back in. Sorry, bye-bye, Caitlin.
Caitlin. I have
you
like
always
a
forget her
mental
first
block.
name.
I'm thinking Kendall now.
Whatever. Say the nasty Kindle woman. I said the wrong one too. Say the nasty gender woman. The nasty gender woman. That sounds bad. The nasty gender woman. Wow, that's complicated. Yeah, just say that. Yeah.
We should check out that Always Sunny.
We can watch it later. But yeah, he should also...
Always Sunny is so good, man.
Commit her... Just kidding. But they voted to ban the sale of meat from pigs that were born to sows who spent their pregnancy in small cages. Okay? Because they did the same thing for pigs. For cows.
Well, are they just banning the production or the importation?
They're saying you can't sell any of it. The whole sale of any of that meat is illegal, which...
I like that.
Which some people might think like not a big deal. One, California is a huge market, and two,
very huge market.
A lot of the...
It's huge, folks.
It's real big. Gigantic like my hands. A lot of people are saying that probably the meat producers are not going to be able to meet the requirements in time. So that's going to end a lot of the sale of meat to California. And they're gonna probably want to change it over, but
what's going to be fucked up is they should have put it in force immediately, because what this is going to cause is a holocaust of prematurely slaughtered calves before the deadline. Like every veal calf that's being raised right now for veal, they're going to slaughter them and get them to market as quickly as possible. They should have put it in force immediately, so that those cows need to be raised their full lifespan, and that they would have, anyone who raised a cow for veal would just have to take a loss on that. And it's disgusting that they didn't do that.
I tend to agree. I guess Massachusetts also passed a similar law, but obviously they're not as big and influential as liberal California. But basically, this is how most pigs are raised. I mean, if anyone's seen any videos from slaughterhouses, they basically sit in like a cage slightly bigger than their body, so they can sit there, get really fat, and grow abscesses and sores all over their body. So think about that nice pus when you're having a nice pork chop. They said only about 4%. I read this about 2 weeks ago, so I don't know how much of this has changed in the intermittent 2 weeks, but it said only 4% of producers currently meet the requirements. So the requirements are 24 square feet of space.
Yeah, if you don't, suck it.
Yeah. So that's a $23 billion a year industry that's going to have a lot of splaining to do, but I think it's great.
I think it's great too.
Yeah.
Although I wish they would have put it in force like immediately, so that.
Yeah, I agree. And of course,
72 hours to comply.
Speaking of,
or you face the death penalty. Since California has reinstated the death penalty, right?
Launch you into the sun.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how much they're using it.
We'll force you to drive a Tesla. Yeah. Same punishment.
You have to test drive the autopilot feature on the Teslas.
Oh, hell yeah. Until it fails.
Until it inevitably locks you in and explodes.
Battery packs can't be put out, folks.
Sorry, the lithium burns forever. Big business is using another, similar to like the what about the children argument. They're arguing for small farmers, as if this impacts like almost any small farmers. Because having lived on a small farm myself for a number of years when I was a young kid, a lot of them are free range. They let they have like a pasture where the pigs or cows run around. These mass industrial farms is where they stuff these things into cages where they can't move.
I think the notion of having a small farm, when your idea of a small, honest farm is locking an animal in the tiniest legal space possible to keep it from dying of an infected wound, that sounds more like a child abuse center than.
Well, the funny thing is, locking them in those cages makes them more likely to get infected and have these sorts of, which is why
this is what I'm saying. It's not like a small family farm. It's like a torture cell.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a very sick place.
I'm saying most small farmers don't do this.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. I'm saying that like these things probably never existed, and if they do exist, they should be stopped immediately.
Yeah. We'll see. People are saying that it might cause like huge spike in prices.
Good.
Yeah, maybe it'll force some people to eat a little bit less meat, or maybe choose the true ethical thing and to go vegan. All right, get down off my high horse.
Don't.
We've been getting more vaccines in Taiwan. These are all old numbers, though, so I won't go over the exact numbers. More people have gotten the local vaccine, the Medigen, the Gaoduan as well. So I'm waiting for more results on that. But
yeah, I've talked to a lot of Taiwanese people, and they all say the same thing, which is that they don't think that the CEO. They all go back to the CEO basically being like, "We're not going to release any information on how effective it is," and they're saying that the company appears to be irresponsible. And I don't know what to say about that. If it's safer, then it's safer. Like when we're talking about effectiveness, like nobody really knows anymore, because there's so many new strains right now. By the way, it's up to like alpha through mu. Yeah, like we're up to M on the alphabet right now. So, I mean, give me a break. Like we really have no idea how effective any of these things are.
The most effective thing is to do what Taiwan did and shut down the borders. It hasn't been perfect, but there's been a lot of mistakes, and they deserve criticism for that. But
oh, hell yeah, bro.
Shut down the borders, mandate masks, and offer vaccines to everyone for free. If people choose to get them, then they choose to get them. And they can. I hate the do your own research, because that basically means go on Twitter and look at your favorite celebrity and see what they say about it. But like actually look at the studies. That's what I mean. I don't mean do your own research. I mean do your own research on the studies that scientists have done on these things.
I agree with you, but I would add that governments could do more to create a central clearinghouse for information. And by the way, code these different studies by whether they're peer reviewed, whether the ranking of the journal, like all of these things, to make sure, like for things like ivermectin, for things like compare, because I wrote an article recently, which by the way was published with a lot of typos, and I apologize to anyone who read it before I proofread it.
That's because it auto-posted, right?
No, well, I scheduled it, but I never. Yeah, I scheduled it on my birthday, so which means I did not check it before I posted. The claims that being naturally infected with COVID is more protective than getting the vaccines, which I commented on in the article. And by the way, this was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they kept repeating it. Joe Rogan and the two fake scientists kept repeating it as if it was fact. It's not a fact. There's one single study, which is neither peer-reviewed nor published. It's a pre-publication, pre-review posting. Okay, and they're using that. They're like, well, now that we know that this is true as a fact, it's like, I thought that your whole thing was about opening up about the nature of scientific debate and the fact that there's very often no consensus on these, and suddenly you have a non-published, non-reviewed paper, and it's a fact, folks. We know it. We know it's true.
It's a scientific consensus, baby.
For fuck's sake, they're like the worst, like pseudoscientists I've ever heard pretend to be scientists.
And they're unwilling to grapple with the fact that a lot of the big ivermectin studies some of them have come out as legitimately fake, and there is you can say there's like evidence on both sides.
I don't know anything about this,
but it's
But so, that's why we need a central clearinghouse.
Yeah.
And if you don't trust the government, don't trust the government. The government shouldn't be evaluating this. The government should be giving you the information, allowing scientists to rank. I mean, scientists already rank the journals. They just have to display the existing rankings, display what's published, what's peer reviewed. Yeah. Where these articles are coming from. And by the way, fund more research. Yeah, and stop pretending like things are black and white when they're not, which breeds room for pseudoscientists to come in and say that that's not true and that other misinformation is true. Yeah. Because these two, I mean, were just as big fraudsters as Anthony Fauci, in my opinion. The amount of misinformation they passed off was frankly astonishing.
Yeah, it was jaw-dropping for sure. I'm glad that the guest that did Cocaine Cowboys, that director, he like gave him some pushback, and a lot of times Joe just kind of refused to engage. Because with the ivermectin thing, at least he engaged on some stuff. But
I think that Joe Rogan does not do much of his own research, unlike Alex Jones. I think he listens to his guests and he takes a lot of what they say at face value. I think because he presented a lot of stuff that the Weinsteins were saying about their getting banned off Twitter, and just said everything that they said as if it was fact and not their opinion. They're like, because some of this is like, they were banned off Twitter. There was no justification. Like, they definitely didn't do anything wrong. No. And he's like, well, everything that they said, he just repeated it as if it was objective fact and not their accusations, which is what they were. Yeah. And by the way, Joe Rogan's obsession with Twitter, the amount he criticizes it at the same time as he thinks that it's like the most important forum for human discussion in the modern era, is frankly crazy. He has so many internal contradictions in his head.
I can see where he's coming from, because like I have a lot of critiques of all social media.
As do I.
I don't know if like him I would recommend people go watch The Social Dilemma though, but I do think they can also
trash movie, folks.
Yeah, I think they can be used as tools to get people together, but I think usually what they are is like a microcosm of the I was gonna say like the 5-minute hate or something.
Sky right now, by the way.
Yeah, it's really like yellowish. Beautiful, folks. Beautiful golden sky.
It's not a beautiful gold. It's like a kind of foggy piss yellow.
Yeah, it looks like a sickly child.
Makes me grossed out to actually look at it.
Really? I think it's all right. I like how it like kind of changes the color of everything else outside. Anyway,
I find it interesting that at certain points he's like, you can't dismiss that Twitter has got like the biggest reach in the world and that it's a great way for people to express themselves and pass information. And then at other times he's like, there's no way to have a real discussion in 160 characters. It's just people shouting at each other and posting memes and fart jokes. It's like, are you sure it's both of these, or is it neither? It's just your friend Jack Dorsey's like sex dungeon.
I don't know, man. I kind of get where he's coming from, but
I get the internal contradiction, but he's like a major public figure. He should decide, I think, what he believes about these and stop just spouting.
He should have Jack Dorsey on and explain to him how he needs to
Please censor that.
how he needs to basically like have it regulated like a public utility.
You mean Jack Dorsey? Come on.
Yeah, and then
one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and say why he should lose all editorial control of his private company and basically turn his company into a government-run monopoly. And by the way, forfeit all of his fortune and then self-deport to Guantanamo.
No. What you do is when you hit him with that, you get the shocked face look,
and then bash him over the head,
and then you hit him with the chloroform and you drop him into Guantanamo. Bye, Jack. See you later, buddy.
Stupid shit. No, this is not stupid. This is serious, folks.
It's moderately serious.
It's very serious.
I mean, they should be regulated like telecoms, like a public utility, but I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that there should be one social network called the social network, run by the government.
I think
no competition, folks.
I think another way to do it is to break them up into little tiny pieces.
But that's the whole point of a social network. Is the idea is that it increases in value the larger the network size is. If you break it up, then people naturally just gravitate towards the largest network because there are the most people contained on that.
Yeah, but I don't think it's now people still kind of segregate themselves into like which one fits their needs the best. So like conservative people and like people with families go to Facebook.
I don't think that's why they go to Facebook. I think they go to Facebook because everyone is on Facebook.
Yeah, but I know less and less people are on Facebook. Especially young people.
You mean they don't have Facebook or they don't use Facebook? Because those are two different things.
Well, I know both. I know sections of people that either have deleted their Facebook or they don't use it. Essentially, like me, I don't use Facebook except to push out our propaganda.
But I think that it's less to do with. It's probably something to do with ideological orientation, but I think it's also something to do with. I think it has to do with the modes of interaction people enjoy.
I think that's probably to some degree true.
Because Facebook, you're mostly seeing like your friends. You can see groups, you can see that kind of stuff, but it's mostly, kind of updates on the people you know in real life. I would say that's the majority, the largest function of most Facebook users. Twitter's not even close. I think a lot of people use Twitter for news. People use Twitter to find out what's happening in the world, to see new trends and stuff like that.
Follow celebrities.
Yeah, it's a totally, and to see what celebrities think, and almost nobody uses Facebook for that.
Yeah, but Facebook has Instagram as well, and that's what a lot of people use Instagram
You're
for.
right.
It's like for celebrity worship.
Except it's for pictures mostly instead of like content or short videos. So they all have kind of different modes of interaction. I think that's what differentiates people more than ideological reasons. But that's just
maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't have any data to support my point.
Let's run a sociological study.
Hell yeah, brother. We're gonna be published authors soon, so
we already are. It's called the FreeChinaPost.com, folks.
It's an academic journal, folks.
Well, it's not an academic journal, but we are published.
That's true. We're back. We know you missed this, folks. All right. Since I did the pod with Seth yesterday, I just thought I'd rattle off some union things just to talk about how important unions are. So, since
a union between a man and a woman is the holiest. Just kidding.
The holiest union. I was gonna make a bad joke. Never mind.
Let's hear it, please.
Okay. I was gonna say, my woman is.
Oh man, we can just censor out this whole minute.
This is gonna be a minute long. Beep. So in 1954, we had about 35% union participation. So it was 34.8%. As of 2020, we have 10%. So you can look. I sent you a thing the other day, and if I can find it, I'll post it in the show notes. It basically shows the correlation between the drop in pay for average workers and the simultaneous drop in union participation, and they're basically parallel. So currently, 65% of Americans approve of unions, and almost half of non-union workers say that they would join a union. So unionized workers, they enjoy like about this is an average, but 11% better pay than their non-unionized brothers and sisters. So they're also less likely to get fired, and they can, as Seth is doing right now, and everyone, I'd encourage you to go listen to that pod I did with him. You can strike for better working conditions if you have issues. And a number of union jobs currently are like there's whiskey makers in Kentucky right now that are striking, and Nabisco is a big one, but I guess they just signed a contract. And then also, of course, the carpenters that Seth is striking with up in Washington. So I don't know. I just wanted to say that. I've been doing a lot of like labor research recently, and I think it's incredibly important. And I think you're going to get, as opposed to having someone standing these politicians, whether it's Josh Hallway from my home state of Missouri, one of my home states, or standing AOC. I think you're going to get a lot more benefits in your life, and you're going to improve your quality of life a lot more if you join a union than you worry about like, oh, I hope this politician that I voted for is going to change my life. I wish people would take more power back, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a union, but some sort of democratization of the workplace, I think, is incredibly important, especially for Americans who have continued to watch their wages fall. And the Democrats clearly seem like they're not going to do anything like vote for a $15 minimum wage because of the parliamentarian. So, yeah, had to get that out of there. Did you see that leaded gas is now gone from the world?
Really?
Yeah. It had the last country was Algeria. They had like a huge leaded gas like reserves. So they finally, I guess,
we're the last ones offering it, folks. We know you want it.
You love it, folks. It smells so good. They switched in July, so now everywhere is a lot lower. Or is not being now it's not being used anywhere. So that's really good.
Stop using it in paint.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I mean it has links to what, like lower IQ, violence, like all these things. It's a horrible, horrible thing. So take lead out of everything. No more PB, folks. It's passé.
It's pass.
Yeah, and also the companies that were using leaded gasoline should have been sued out of existence, because there was like a scandal in like the early 2010s with a U.S. company called InnoSpec that was like knowingly selling leaded gasoline to places and pretending like it wasn't a big deal.
In the United States?
Yeah. Oh, they weren't not selling it in the United States. They're a U.S. company selling it abroad.
Okay.
So I wrote a note to myself telling I should release the Ping Dong podcast.
Release your tax returns.
Because we just had the anniversary, the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And we talk a little bit about 9/11. But I didn't want to release it too close because some of our takes were controversial. Like trying to get Ron to admit that 9/11 was an inside job.
I can't remember what really took place in that conversation, if I'm being frank.
We may have to. I think like the second part is just like us talking about politics, but the first half we may have to put behind a paywall.
Very large paywall.
$100 you can
only open to U.S. citizens.
$100 you can listen to it, folks. Maybe not open to U.S. citizens. Maybe only open to Taiwanese.
Only open to Canadian citizens.
I still
and Afghans.
Also since 9/11 happened, I was remembering that Saudi Arabia threatened to do a 9/11 style attack on Canada. Speaking of Canada,
for what?
Because I think it was because they were trying to sanction Saudi. You can look up the picture.
We're gonna get you back, folks.
You can look at the picture. They have one of the big towers in Canada. I don't know which one. I'm not a Canadian.
CN Tower, probably.
Probably, but they had pictures of planes flying towards the tower. You can look it up. Just look up like Saudi attack Canada or something. I'll put the picture in the show notes as well.
Oh my gosh!
Sticking one's nose where it doesn't belong. It's crazy, right? This was right around the time that they chopped up Jamal Khashoggi as well, and the world didn't blink an eye. Craziness, man. We live in a crazy world.
By the way, I mean the CN Tower, for being honest, is like not the World Trade Center. Nobody works in that building. I mean, some people work in that building, but it's not like a trade building. It's like an old radio tower.
You heard it here, folks. Ari's in favor of
a... Be really careful with that.
I'm just kidding. I saw that they're going to have a activist game show now.
What does that mean?
They're going to have people who
Who's
are
they? First of all,
I don't know which network it is. I don't want to.
American.
Yeah, it's an American show. So they're gonna have these like quote unquote activists, and they're gonna compete in, as I understand it, like a Shark Tank style competition.
Oh, this would be cool.
It's so gross. Like
I love it.
The commodification of like activism is so gross. It's so disgusting.
Activism in the United States is commodified as it is, so this will just expose it for what it really is, which is people seeking self promotion and attention.
I hope it gets canceled. It's so gross.
Why, man?
Because it's just gross, man. It's just gross, and it makes people think that that's what activism is when it's not.
But it often is.
It's not real activism though.
But that's the point, that a lot of, I think that's why it's attractive to me, is because it exposes that not all activism is real.
But will it make it better? That's my worry, is that it will make people think that this is the only way to do activism.
What, to go on a game show? I think everybody knows that that's not the case.
I don't know, man. Americans are quite gullible sometimes, especially when it comes to their
you want to be an activist? Why don't you go on the activist game show?
Mark Cuban, this is why I think babies shouldn't be starving in Africa.
Wait, so, okay, I figured it was like, when you said Shark Tank style, they're like competing for what? For funding? Or?
Yeah, as I understand it. It's like,
that sounds kind of silly. I thought they were doing like a game show. They're like going to do trivia and like play physical game. That sounds fun and stupid.
That would be less egregious than this, where they're like
watching a Proud Boy like compete in a fucking like burlap sack race with like an Antifa character. That would be quality television.
It's just a bunch of Boogaloo boys doing an egg toss.
Oh my gosh. See, this is what needs to be created. And that's why I was so excited. Now that I know that they're like competing for seed funding with Mark Cuban and friends, it's not as exciting. So I kind of agree with you. It should be canceled.
Yeah,
but
gross.
What they should do is convert it into like a parkour, like Japanese water sports,
like a MXC
Truth or Dare
style. Do you ever watch MXC as a child? It's like a Japanese game show that they dubbed in English. It was like incredibly stupid, but it was hilarious.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah. Just
mix those all together and then include hardcore activists from different radical organizations and promise the winner money.
That's going to be problematic if like a Klansman wins the egg toss, runs the parkour the fastest, is American Ninja Warrior style competition, and then gets like $1 million from Mark Cuban or something.
Let's make the base rule that you cannot advocate violence or the political exclusion of any other group. You can advocate for whatever, for the rights of your organization, or like let's say that that sounds okay.
All right.
But yeah, not at the expense of anyone else in any way, shape, or form.
All right. We'll get to working on it. We'll work on our elevator pitch so we can pitch it to the networks. I mean, at least half of us.
It's an American Ninja Warrior with Antifa versus the Proud Boys. 10 seconds.
And half of us are Jewish, so that works. Okay, that's how we sell it. Just kidding. I'm gonna edit that out. Unless happy.
Both of us are Jewish.
Now I'm gonna leave it in. The Hong Kong raided the Tiananmen Museum. So the Hong Kong police. And then I just saw, when you were taking your little Banglio break, that 3 ex-members of the student politicism, which is...
You mean...
That's what it's called. That's what they use for the English. Yeah, it's like a student political group.
It's not Demosisto or something?
That's not what this one says. I know Demosisto is the other one, but this says...
I'm surprised that there are 2 organizations that are corruptions... Very stupid sounding corruptions of an English word.
This is it says 3 ex-members of the student patriotism. Oh, sorry, not 3 ex-members of the student politicism arrested yesterday were denied bail. They're pending trial. They're aged 18 to 20, and they're accused of conspiracy to incite subverting state power. So, yeah, it's just it's a very bad situation, and they just had elections. Scare quotes, elections in Hong Kong.
By the way, I'm revising a paper I wrote about Hong Kong, written about, the bulk of it was written about a year ago, where for people who don't know, Hong Kong's legislature and the chief executive are, of course, not directly elected by the people, but in large part, especially the executive council, which has absolutely no universal suffrage, is elected by a small committee, which itself is elected by a smaller portion of the population, members of like trade organizations,
disproportionately rich people.
Rich people. So like the Institute of Chartered Accountants and like the CEO of HSBC, like they all get a vote as towards who gets to be on the council, which this council then gets to pick who is the chief executive of Hong Kong. So it used to be that there were about 240 to 250,000 electors out of the 7 million Hong Kong people that were eligible to select the committee that was then eligible to select the chief executive. They cut that down to like 7,500, and I think 3,000 or 4,000 people ended up voting.
Yeah, it was a joke.
So 3,000 or 4,000 people out of 7 million Hong Kongers get to vote for the 1,500 people that then get to elect the single chief executive,
who is handpicked by Beijing.
yeah, basically, out of like the two or three nominees who are approved by the National People's Council Standing Committee of the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Republic of China. So if that's not convoluted and confusing, I mean, that's the whole point of it, is to basically keep the people as far away from any form of real power as possible.
Which is why 2 years ago there were 2 million people in the streets. And now with the national security law, those people are staying home. Or they're sitting in a black site.
They've been self-deported to China.
Yeah, there's a number of them that are in Shenzhen right now. So,
how many?
I mean, obviously they're black sites. They don't post their numbers online. But I mean, some of the famous Hong Kong 12, they were obviously sent across the border. So sucks. I'm glad to see that there are a decent amount getting out and getting to basically safe haven. A lot of them coming to Taiwan. I've seen a lot go to Britain and Canada and U.S. So it's good to see people get out. But it's sad that they have to flee their homes.
Agreed. Have you heard about this new submarine partnership / arms trade deal that apparently is like shaking up the world of international geopolitics for some bizarre reason?
The amount of people I saw that said that they're giving them nuclear weapons was insane. Because gotta explain to y'all, nuclear subs are not nuclear weapons.
Yeah, so they're nuclear-powered submarines, not nuclear-armed submarines, just to be clear. And I watched a very interesting clip from the BBC, and I'm glad they made that clear to all their viewers.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake news going on.
So just to give people context, so France had an agreement to supply Australia with a set of diesel-powered submarines. By the way, diesel power, because of the combustion engine, is a little bit less quiet, and because it has to have oxygen to run a diesel engine. So you have a finite amount of time that you can remain submerged.
Yeah.
With a nuclear powered submarine, you can essentially remain submerged indefinitely.
Yeah.
As long as the nuclear, fuel rods can power themselves. And there's, obviously better cloaking. They're a little bit higher technology. So they basically scrapped the deal. The Australians scrapped the deal and made a deal with the US and apparently the UK, which I don't know why they're involved in this at all, to manufacture the submarines in Australia. And France, instead of considering it, when we say the US, it's like, I guess the countries do it, but they're manufactured in Australia, and they're manufactured probably by weapons contractors, as opposed to by a French weapons contractor. But apparently this is like a huge geopolitical rift.
Yeah. And
France flipped out and took the really radical step of recalling their ambassador to the United States over this. Which, this is a weapons contract between, I assume, what are private contractors. This isn't like a state-to-state like alliance. So I don't understand what maybe I'm missing something, but I don't understand what the big deal is, honestly. It's irritating and it hurts their economy, but this isn't a betrayal of anything else besides a state agreeing to a different deal with a different weapons contractor.
Yeah. It's just a monetary contract. It's kind of silly. But and of course, also the Chinese were losing their minds over it
Oh yeah,
because they don't like when
I do like
people get
that.
weapons. Well, and anyone that thinks that they might have a some sort of valid case about like ramp ups and things like that, they've been flying more and more fighter jets into Taiwan's air defense zone. So fuck out of here.
What I thought was really interesting is that while they recalled the ambassador to the U.S., they didn't do the same for the U.K. because they said they basically implied that this kind of disgusting behavior is what we expect out of those cheeky Brits or something like that. But we're surprised that the Americans and Australians would stoop to this level.
That's hilarious though.
You should look up the quote. It's funny. It's a little bit.
Was it Macron?
No. I think it was like the foreign minister.
Yeah, the French foreign minister, Jean-Yves Le Drian. He said
Thanks for those guttural noises.
He described himself on France Info Radio on Thursday as angry, and he said, "It is not done between allies. It is just not done between allies. It is a stab in the back. This is a unilateral, brutal, unpredictable decision. Is very similar to what Mr. Trump used to do."
Yeah, I mean, if they did like go behind them and stab them back, that's weird. And honestly, Australia, like if they sign a contract with the French, should continue to buy their shitty diesel-powered subs. If France is so concerned about it, how about France sell some nuclear subs to Taiwan? I think Taiwan would take that deal pretty quickly.
I bet they would.
Speaking of, I think it's always funny hearing like France criticize American foreign policy because they're so full of shit. Just like most Europeans. France, I remember they were so offended about like the invasion of Iraq and the war on terror and stuff like that. And then just a handful of years later, they are like the most active in the war of terror of any Western nation in the world with their secret operations through the French Foreign Legion. So yeah, they don't use the French military. They use foreign contractors that they promise French citizenship if they will die for the French Republic, so that they can have secret military operations conducted in Mali and the Central African Republic to basically preserve their, I don't want to call them neo-colonials because I don't believe that's what they're doing. They're doing it at the request of these former colonial states. But
I think it might be a little bit of both, but
come on, like you can't criticize getting involved in other countries' affairs, and you can't criticize the war on terror, and then yourselves become literally the biggest contributor to it.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
Give me a break, France.
Come on, France.
Give me a break. If you're really offended, here's a great idea. Take your nuclear weapons, take your nuclear subs, put them together, and offer them to Taiwan. And I think they'll give you a very sweet price for it. Take them off your hands. Give you lots of francs.
I bet they would also include in that deal a lot of custard apple and wax apples because China just said that they will not take any more from Taiwan.
See, France, you can't miss out on this.
It's perfect, beautiful, wonderful fruit.
Custard apples are nice. They're interesting, and I think French people like them. Wax apples, they can be dry, but if you get them while they're fresh, they're delicious.
They're also good in a smoothie. Add a little sweetness.
Oh, but there's so much fiber, man.
Yeah, you put them in. You don't take the fiber out when you make them in a smoothie.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll dry out the smoothie. That's what I'm afraid of. You'd have to put a lot of water in to compensate.
You gotta put a lot of
slimy fruits,
sweet slimy mangoes. Well, yeah, I think
Speaking of the decomposing mangoes in the fridge from the last time Ben was here 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, whoopsies. I think the French would like custard apples. They like slimy stuff like snails. So
and
I know.
That was a dirty joke, folks. That wasn't an anti-French statement. That was like a dirty joke.
Yeah, it was just some fun. Just some fun between.
It was about genitalia.
Just some fun betwixt a couple buds.
We have fun.
We do. We have fun, folks. We have fun, don't we, folks?
I know your password now.
It's okay. Everyone knows my password.
You should change it to a really difficult password.
I don't really have anyone that like is gonna steal my phone.
Except the Chinese government.
Someone told me that the other day. Like, I know your password now, and I was like, so like my phone is literally always on me. Hashtag not scared, folks. Oh, we need to watch that that Code Pink. It's not just Code Pink, but it's Code Pink is like one of the people in it. We need to watch that. It's like an hour long of it's gonna be horrible. I saw pictures from it. There were people wearing Mao shirts. There were not even Mao. Mao I can get. I mean, I think it's stupid. But I saw people wearing Xi Jinping shirts. Fucking white Westerners. I guess it doesn't matter if they're white. Westerners wearing fucking Xi Jinping shirts. And I guarantee you, if you were to say, how do you say that man's name? They would be like, G? Is his name G Bing? Fucking clown show, man. But we need to watch it so we can critique it. So we can show the true working class bona fides instead of this nonsense performative shit that is essentially just anti-American. And don't get me wrong, I am here all day to criticize America.
Yeah, but criticizing America is not the same thing as being anti-American, I would say.
I don't think they're anti-American. I think they're anti-American government. And I'm anti things about I'm not totally anti-American government. I'm not anti probably most governments. There's probably elements of almost any government you could find. I mean, besides like maybe the CCP, maybe things like the military junta, in Myanmar. But yeah, for the most part, there's probably some political person. So it's just
check it out.
It's
man.
nonsense, but we need to watch it. We're also going to be doing. Everyone needs to go subscribe to our Twitch. Okay, our Twitch is FreeChinaPost, all one word. And because we are gonna do. We obviously do like game streams and like talk about politics, but we're also gonna do. We did the French debates on there, and we're planning on doing the German debates on there as well. So go check it out so you can check it out live.
It's gonna be done by the time this posts.
I'll cut that out. Well, we're gonna do. We'll be doing this.
We already did it, folks.
We'll be doing this Code Pink stream. Yeah, we probably already did the German debates.
It's already done, folks.
But anyway, if you don't want to miss hot live content, because you can interact with us too on there. We always put up the chat box so you can chat with us about what's going on. So yeah, do that. If you do miss anything because of time differences, you can always watch it again later on the YouTube or the Rumble. So we got that Rumble, folks.
That's a dating app.
It's for people involved in combat sports.
Joe Rogan's favorite.
I just want to match with this Brazilian jiu-jitsu because I like from BJJ's.
I'm not gonna laugh at your homophobic joke.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all later. We love you. Never forget. FCP's a doll.